questions are too slow. You know, I left something and I don't know what I did. I have to go get it on one of the breaks. But I have some. If you call it out, I owe you what I call it a can't be done wristband. Just remind me. Okay, I left my wristbands over there.
You were challenged. You didn't have all the things you normally need.
Yeah, you were challenged. Okay, good job. All right, what was challenging about? Opposite hands. How about eyes closed?
Once I shouldn't have lifted my pen up.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to find.
You were trying to, yeah. All right. Some of us, we didn't have our resources, and some of us were really trying to be perfect with those eyes closed too, weren't we? Right? Yeah. Perfection can be a challenge when we're trying to be perfect. You know, when the goal is not perfection, the goal is to be consistent and to give it your best effort. Okay. Let me ask you another question. All right. Why is change from the norm such a difficult process? Who said that? Fear. Very good.
And we a lot of times get comfortable in our zone.
Comfortable.
We just want to be.
First, let me give you 2 wristbands.
Right.
Comfort. Why do we get so comfortable? Why do people get so comfortable? What is it about comfort? Habit. Yeah. Familiarity. Isn't it? How many of you have ever tried workout programs? Like you said, you know, this is my year. Every year, that's my year. You know what I mean? Every year, man. This is gonna be my year. I'm gonna lose 35 pounds. I'm gonna look like I did when I was in high school. In December, you start all over again. January, by February, like, what did I say? Yeah. Because you know why? We're creatures of habit. We really are. Yeah. Fear of failure sometimes. You know, but habits, we get used to doing everything. You know, I started doing this class called spin class. You ever heard of spin class? That should be outlawed. That's an insane class. You know, you do like 1,000 calories in an hour. And you got instructors hollering at you while you riding that bike. I mean, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm killing myself and you screaming at me. But you know what? I remember the first time walking in that class. I know the very Glasgow wax. I remember the first time going in that class. My instructor name was Mean Jean. I knew I was in a problem with that name, Mean Jean. And Mean Jean, she up this tall, and you know, she's just screaming at you the whole class. But you know what? After 2 weeks, the first day I thought I was going to die. 2 weeks later, a little better. Month, I was in the roll. There's a lady in my class, she's like 75. She looked back at me, keep up with me, son, keep up with me. I said, Mama, you don't want to do me like that. Hey. Guess what? Point of making is this. Change doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And one thing I realized in interacting with young people is change is happening all the time. How many of you would agree? It's an ongoing process. You know, change as far as what they're exposed to, change in the way that they think based upon what's going on society-wise. But organizationally, we need to look at change. You know, what do we need to change to be more effective? You know, what do we need to change as far as having a greater outreach to those people we're trying to reach in our community? Because some people do it very well. What are they doing? You know, change is inevitable in this generation. Let me give you a couple of thoughts on change. I got quite a few. I do a lot of training around change because sometimes people get molded and stay there forever. Change and innovation go hand in hand. It's hard to innovate if you don't change. You know, people always, you hear this buzz, innovation has become real popular buzzwords nowadays. But people talk about innovation, but they want to do it based upon the way they've always done things. That's right. All right, this is, I got 2 more high fives. This is your second to last. Get somebody a high five and tell them you got to blow the box up, baby. Come on, just give me a high five and tell them you got to blow the box up. You got to blow the box up. You can't expect, you know, I've been in districts all over this country. I've seen some of the greatest turnarounds you ever want to see. And you know what they did? They blew the box up. Blew it up. There's this school district down in Florida called the Gadsden County School District. Reginald James became the new superintendent, man. And I went down through this organization called Communities in Schools. I was down there multiple times with them. CIS? You know, Bill Milliken is one of my mentors. So Bill founded that organization. And down in Gaston County, they were the last in the state of Florida as far as the state test. They were last as far as number of students graduating. They were last as far as, you know, it was last in everything. And this man came in and he created a new philosophy called no excuses. And he didn't go overnight and try to make the change. He just slowly implemented it. You know, and I thank goodness I was a part of that process. He would have me come down and work with the teachers and work with the parents and work with the students. And we were implementing that no excuses. After a while, people were like, man, that's just flighty, fluffy stuff, motivational stuff. We don't want to hear that. After several months, they were like, everybody was no excuses. Kids were walking around with no excuses t-shirts. It wasn't like you were forcing them to. You know, like I said, no child is born into a mother, or, you know, from a mother, and says, I want to grow up and I want to do bad in school. Nobody, that's, you know. I was in Minnesota, speaking to a school out there, you know, doing these student assemblies. There's one program by the guy, I did like 10 assemblies, but one of the schools that I spoke with was a school that the students were 100% Hmong from China. Literally 100%. And so I'm about to do this assembly for the school, and this principal walks in and said, Coach, it's going to be a little different than probably anything you've ever seen. I said, no problem. He said, be who you are. We want you to be who you are. We want you here for this reason. He said, but you're going to notice a few things different with our students. So all 500 or so of these students walked into the gym, sat down. But this is what I immediately noticed. They all had notepads in their hands. All notepads. Second thing I noticed, they didn't sit with their friends and start talking. Because that typically happens at a lot of these events. You know, kids talking, they want to see their friends, they're running to them. They didn't do that. They sat down. And then I noticed that they were focused right on me. They weren't looking to the left, they weren't looking to the right, they were right on me. So as I did my presentation, even if it was motivational, they were taking notes. Taking notes. Then we had a Q&A afterwards. These kids asked some of the most amazing questions. And so afterwards, you know, they were very appreciative, gave me a nice applause, stood up and everything. But then they got down and I said, can I speak to a few? I asked the principal, can I speak to a few? He said, yeah. So I spoke to him. I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a biologist. What do you want to be? I want to go into nuclear physics. What do you want to be? I want to go into become a technology. Every student, everyone I talked to, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. And I realized something. I said, you know what? Now, keep in mind, their situation was their parents came to this country for what? Opportunity. They made great sacrifices to get here. So those students are sitting in the classroom with a sense of purpose because they understand the struggle to get to this country to get this education. I said, we have got to find a way to get our children to see the same thing. Can we get a hand clap? School is not a place to hang out. It's not a fashion show. Man, you got to get an education so that you can create a future for yourself. And that's why these messages through programs like 21st Century and, you know, all these different things you're doing and communicating, what you're doing with that parent universe, all these different things are so important because we got to keep pushing the message. Because if we don't, guess what? They're caught up in what they think in the moment. They get caught up in what they see through popular culture. Popular culture is one of the worst things. I'm sorry, I know you might think I'm, but it's the worst because they don't communicate.